Hey, what's going on? Doc Kenny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast, and today we are talking about an exercise that we had a chance to do at our staff retreat last week, and this is something that was probably the most beneficial exercise that we did that you can take and do this with your own team. I think this will be incredibly helpful. First thing is, this past week, we took our entire staff to Breckenridge, Colorado, and we took them snowboarding and skiing. And this is something that I've been doing with my business partners now for 6 years straight, and we do it at the beginning of the year. Normally, it's just us. This is the first year we brought our entire team with us, and I think it was just a huge help. It was very, very worth the effort, cost, and it's a challenge to get everybody to an area like that. Maybe it's not something that everybody can do, but for us, this is something that we have found to be incredibly helpful. And I'll kind of explain, why I think it's so beneficial. And it's not just that you're in a different environment; it's that we go to a place where we're able to be outside in the morning, to move around, to do something that requires your full attention. I don't know, if you've ever been mountain biking or snowboarding or surfing or something like that. Like there's something about it where I can't like focus on other things. I have to focus on where I'm going because I don't want to hit a tree or a rock or whatever, right? And that's a really unique thing. A lot of us are so distracted and we're constantly bombarded with information. You don't have a choice. Like you have to be fully focused on something. And there's something really interesting I think it happens with our brain when we do that, because not only do we have this intense period of focus, but then we get on a lift, which takes a little while, and then we ride back up, and we have this opportunity to sit next to each other and talk. And it could be, whatever, just regular conversation. Normally it turns into things that people are thinking about for the business while we're there, which is really a huge reason why we do this. And then in the afternoon, we all sit down together and grab lunch middle of the day, and then we start working together around 2:00, and then we do that throughout the evening. And what we have found is this is a really, really helpful cadence for people to be able to get in the right mindset, to be able to solve problems and be a bit more creative. I think it's one of the things that we have done that just has made such a big difference. You could do this if you just want to go to a place where you can go hiking, you want to go biking, you want a place where you go running. You could just do a workout in the morning together, but just something movement related together, and then have a meal, and then get after it, right? I mean, that's it. If you can get a 4-hour chunk of like detailed, like really intense work done, that's very, very meaningful. And you do that over a couple of days. Each day, it's super, super helpful. Plus the conversations people are having that are non-structured are also incredibly valuable for your team culture, as well as you and your staff, and being able to really, understand what's going on with them and their jobs and what they're trying to do and what you're trying to do, and making sure there's no communication breakdown, which is really hard at scale. So for us, we went through an exercise called a SWOT analysis. I don't know if any of you have done this before. It's a pretty common business school analysis. It's SWOT. So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is what that stands for. And I had never done this with our staff. I've only done this with my business partners or by myself. And this is something that I do pretty much every year, but I'd never done it with a bigger group. And this was probably the most interesting thing that we did, the most beneficial thing that we did. And it's because not everybody views the world the way you do. Not everybody views your company the way you do. And they can have different personality types. And some people, they're incredibly naturally optimistic. They in their opportunities category, they have like a dozen things. And in the threats category, they have like one thing, right? They only see one threat, but they have 12 things that are opportunities. And then other people, they see the world differently. They may bias towards seeing danger more or threats more. They have a dozen things in the threats section, and they have one thing in the opportunity section, right? And this is why it's so important. And I cannot caveat this or express the importance of this more. And that is, as you go to hire people to build your company, you must focus on trying to hire people that have the skill set you're looking for, but are also not necessarily inherently just like you. Now, this is a huge mistake that I see. People just hire people that are just like them. They're just like them because they like them. And they think to themselves, I don't know why I like this person, but I like him. And I could see myself hanging out with this person. And that's great maybe for your culture, but what you have to realize is it's not just about that. you need a culture fit, but you also need people that have the requisite skills that you need. And it's very important to have people that view the world differently than you, at least slightly differently than you, are not exactly like you. Because if you surround yourself with a bunch of people that are just like you, you're going to see all the same things on a SWOT analysis that you would see that they would see. It's going to be the same. Versus if you have people that come from different backgrounds, who have different skills, that are inherently good at their job, whatever that might be, and they are a part of your overall company and culture, that is where you have this respectful sort of discourse where people may see things very differently. And it's important for you to be open-minded enough to think, man, maybe they're right. Maybe this is a blind spot for me. And if you're like me, you probably have a dozen things in the opportunities section, right? You have all these strengths. We have all these strengths. We have almost no weaknesses and there's no threats. That is not the reality, right? And you need people that see a lot of weaknesses and threats because it balances you out and it increases the likelihood that the business is going to be able to not just like hit the goals you have, but do so in a manner where it's not going to, put itself in a bad position to where game's over, right? Where businesses go out of business. So these people that may be different than you are really important. And now you might be somebody who falls more into the category where you see a lot of weaknesses and threats. Maybe you're naturally more biased to see that. And this is important. This is how we've evolved. Like we need people that are like concerned about threats. They're concerned about the saber-tooth tiger eating everybody. We can't just see everybody where they're like, this is great, like awesome, look at the stars, this is amazing. Like that is somebody who's more opportunity driven, that is this more strengths driven, and versus somebody that's more weakness and threats driven is going to be like, yeah, but that cat's getting really close, and they keep you alive. You need both. Okay. It's really, really important. No matter which one you are, you have to make sure that people on your team or if you don't even have a team, maybe you have somebody that is a friend of yours or a family member that looks at the world a little bit different than you do, and you can sit down and do an exercise like this with them and really get more of a balanced opinion on where things are at. Or even better, if you have a client that you're close with and you can actually just like say, hey, I'll trade you, a visit for an hour of your time to talk to me about the business and the things that you see in a SWOT analysis, especially if they have any sort of business acumen or they are an entrepreneur, even better. And, for you, this can be an incredibly valuable exercise because you get to see the business and the world around it in a lens that is not the same as yours. That is an incredibly valuable thing. If you have a team, I highly recommend going through this. And here's basically what you do. You sit down and you go through one at a time, right? So you say, okay, I want everybody to write down the strengths that they see in our company. So everybody write that down for a few minutes and you go around and everybody says what those are. And we have a little discussion about the strengths of why people think that it is that, why people think that it is not. Maybe there's some disagreement about something that we can kind of work through a little bit, or there's a lot of alignment. And when we see a lot of alignment, here's the other thing. If you see a lot of alignment in any of these categories from everybody who has different views on the business and the world, that's when you should really pay attention to that. That is a strong indicator that this is an important place to focus on for whatever that might be. So if everybody from different sort of perspectives sees the same thing, that is a really, really cool thing. And that usually is where there's a lot of traction that can be gained by focusing on that. So you do that for strengths, you do that for weaknesses, you do that for opportunities, and then you do that for threats. And I can tell you this, you're going to have some people, the strengths and opportunities people, they're going to have a shit ton of stuff for those categories, and they're going to have very little for weaknesses and threats. And the people that are more sort of biased towards seeing the threats that are out there, they're going to see a lot of weaknesses and they're going to see a lot of threats. And it's very, very eye-opening to sit down with your team and have everybody go through this, see what overlaps, see what does not, and then really see if you can find some common themes where everybody is in agreement on everything. This was the most beneficial exercise that we did when we were out there. I hope that you decide to do this as well. Like I said, you can do this by yourself. I think it's very meaningful to do it with somebody that views the world a little different than you, if not multiple people, if you have the team to do so. And to be honest with you, this doesn't even have to be part of your retreat. You could do this for a weekly meeting that you, instead of going over your KPIs and everything else, you spend 2 hours going through a SWOT analysis with everybody. And it's also great for them to have their opinions and to share, right? I want a culture where the people that work with us feel like we value what they have to say because they're independently very smart people. Your staff wants that. They want to feel like, they're not just there to whatever, do their job and go home. Like they're a part of this. This is their small companies, and their value, their opinion is valuable. Because they are an independently important part of the business. So, as you look at the exercise you can do, this is one of my favorites. I think this is something that you'll get a lot out of. Hopefully you decide to do this with your team. Let me know if you do. I'd love to know how you liked it, if you've got as much out of it as me. And don't feel bad if you want to steal our snowboarding annual, beginning of the year trip. I think it's a game changer. It's been huge for our business. Highly recommend it if it's something that is within your scope and your wheelhouse. All right. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next one.